Attention is in short supply these days, yet it is important to executive function, doing well in school, and overall life success. Hi, I'm Jeff Coleman, and this is Attention, ladies and gentlemen, a show for teachers and parents who want to learn more about attention and what we can do to help our children be more successful in school and life. So if I could have your attention, we will get started. Hey, before we get started today, I wanted to tell you about a fun way to train attention skills from our show's sponsor, Brainly. Where you look and where you are planning to look is where you are placing your attention. The Attention Arcade leverages this connection to train attention skills with specially designed video games that children control using only their eyes. You can learn more by going to attentionarcade.com. Today, I'm excited to talk with Bryan Dinner, who is a recent Penn grad from their MBA JD program and the founder of Clarifi. I'm really excited because Bryan has actually been through a lot of the experiences with attention issues and why he actually started the company he did. So, Bryan, welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to talk today.
So, as I understand, you recognize you had attention challenges when you were pretty young and that they had an impact on your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And it's not just on me. It's on your entire family. I have two older brothers and was struggling really to keep up with what they had been doing as I entered advanced classes in my early teenage years. And that really came to a forefront when my parents walked in to the bathroom found me fully clothed in my hoodie skater boy outfit, sitting there with an open math textbook in an empty bathtub. And they're like, what the heck is going on here? That's when they found out that I really had attention issues. I had gone in there to try to get away from what was my iPod video at the time, and just needed to focus on this first high school math exam to succeed. But that point, that's when it went from being Bryan has challenges to this is a real struggle that they were able to start getting me help with.
So you decided on your own to go sit in the bathtub to study because it removed distractions, I assume?
That's right. It was the idea that I would go that, when I was working in my room with my phone and my iPod video, next thing I'd know, while I was studying, I would always end up with it. And so by putting the other electronic devices on the other end of the house, it started to put barriers. And we could talk about that in terms of executive functioning skills and self-regulation approaches. But very, very tactically, I knew that if I got up to go out of the bathtub, I would ask myself, do I really need to go check that? If I go out of the room, do I really need to go check that? As I cross the house, it's like a question again, and it helps with that metacognition, reviewing, okay. Do I really need to go do that?
And about how old were you when this happened?
That was 8th grade. So I was in
8th grade, okay.
Advanced math class in 8th grade, yeah. And
so up till then, you just thought you had a few challenges in school, but it was the extra focus required for this math class that really brought it to the forefront?
It was definitely the hardest thing I had done to date, and it was moving from, I guess, a homeroom environment in 7th grade, where you had a homeroom teacher that was helping you with your executive functioning skills. That's not what they called it, but helping make sure that I knew what the assignments were. To now in 8th grade, I was all on my own and taking this high school class where it was you were responsible and there were real consequences for it. So it's when different students have a moment when the wheels come off, and that was my wheels coming off moment.
Right. Well, it sounds like you kept them on by studying in the bathtub, but the recognition that you needed that to do it does point to some challenges you were facing. So what did you do after that in terms of, you said your parents were aware that you needed some extra support, some extra help to get through your academics?
Yeah, so I did start medication as part of that. went and saw a psychiatrist uh, who was very helpful in talking with me and with my family. But we also met with an ADHD executive functioning coach to talk about different ways we could cope with it and habits we could do. And so one thing I did is I would find a quiet space around other people. That was the library, and I would use those other people and seeing them work hard to help myself stay focused. It
Okay.
was also chunking techniques.
Right.
It's amazing to me that that's still the term, but chunking up work into more actionable parts, and working on an egg timer. We literally, bought an egg timer.
Hey, if it works, go with it. So, I mean, it sounds like you found some strategies that did help, and I mean, you got a bachelor's degree, and then you got joint, or I don't know what you call it, a dual master's degrees. So it sounds like you really figured this out and were able to, work with it and be successful academically.
I would definitely say that I didn't get into these programs because of my grades. Uh,
Okay.
it, I think that you'll meet people with ADHD, and we don't have patience maybe for certain things. We don't have the ability, as my great uncle says, the Sitzfleisch, which is Yiddish for fat on your bottom, to sit still and do that all the time. So we find other ways, and so I got into college by actually not through my grades, but through starting a district-wide student government. I got into the program, the JD program, by getting good enough grades and doing well enough on tests, but really it was following my passions and distinguishing myself there. And so I ended up starting a group that ended up dismantling Greek life housing at Duke. And so it was in recognition,
Wow.
I think, is probably why I was able to get into the program. And so
Okay.
I'm not an
So,
academic success story. I do enough. I understand the importance of doing it, but really when we talk to our
right.
students, they you're never going to be able to overcome this if you don't want to overcome this. You're never
Right.
going to deal
Okay.
with these challenges unless you have the baked in motivation that's there. And so you have to want this. And so we say, one, we're only going to work with students. I'm starting to get into the company, but we only work with students that want to work with us, and we only help them to achieve what they want to achieve. We hopefully start to align that with what others want from them, but it has to be what you want because it's difficult.
Okay. So you started talking about the company. Tell us a little bit more about what Clarify does and why you started the company. What was your motivation entrepreneurship is not an easy path, as I can tell you from experience. So what motivated you to create a company?
It was that challenge. It was that bathtub moment part two. So
Okay.
I was in the first year of that JD program, and I was getting through civil procedure, and you have to go online and do these studying pieces, and you're able to do that in a library where you have other people to help with your metacognition. And I got hit with the pandemic. I was no longer able to use these tools and techniques and habits that I built for myself. That was going into the library, trying to lock away as much of my electronics as I could, and chunking up my work into actionable parts. I was now on the other side of a distraction-filled computer all by myself, and
Yeah.
you expect the results to be good. And so I ended up calling my friend from college and said, "Hey, could you build me a digital bathtub?" None of these other tools seemed to be working for me. I would just turn my blocker off for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes became 3 hours. And I wasn't able to get the progress done that I wanted to. And so that's where we started from and said, okay, if we're going to build this, who should this be for? This digital bathtub, somewhere you can go on your computer that blocks you out from the rest of your computer for periods of time. And so
So
we
you
said,
can only work on one thing, and you can't go surf the internet, or you can't, switch your music, or is that what I understand?
hey, yeah, it's a monotasking solution is one thing that we taught. You pick up one thing and you work on that one thing and you take the actions that you want to take uh, to do that. And so that the question is, who wants this? And the answer was 14-year-old Bryan that we were just talking about. And 14-year-old Bryan's parents, Janice in particular, really would have loved to have this. Janice was pulling out her hair. I had two older brothers that went to Duke and Emory that were high achievers, and so it was that moment. So I totally understand what parents must be going through, that we're expecting the most distracted students to be on the most distraction-filled devices and get tedious work done is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so we started from the bathtub idea of blocking myself out, and then we ended up partnering with Dr. Melissa Dvorsky, who's the head of ADHD research at Children's National in DC, in getting funding from a group called the Jacobs Foundation that funds evidence-based education interventions to build out this tool. And so when we talked to the design concept, it was the blocker is great, but we need to have these other ADHD intervention techniques built in and automated.
Okay.
And so what that means is we're kind of we're a Noom for teaching study habits now. We take the existing tools and techniques that a study habit coach or ADHD executive functioning coach would teach them, and we automate them and provide them on the desktop where students are doing their homework. And so that's where we are. We actually just ran a study at a school called AIM Academy here in Philadelphia, and we're able to show with statistical significance that we were able to improve homework performance using a measure called the homework problems checklist, as well as we saw almost 90% of parents said their students were able to get homework done more independently without a parent present.
Nice.
Compared to without Clarifi. So in the end of the day, well, I told you about all the features that it has. What we really are selling to families is independent focus. Parents don't have to walk in and have to hover over their kid's shoulder because they know that they're in their Clarifi environment desktop app and they're doing their homework.
That's awesome. And so you said it's evidence-based. What did the study include, or how many students? You mentioned a measure which I'm not familiar with. What exactly were you measuring in terms of the outcomes for them?
Yeah, so major thanks to the Jacobs Foundation. They're one of the leading education foundations in the world. And so we were selected as part of their social entrepreneurship fellowship to do this study. And that $40,000 went towards studying this. And so we had low double-digit student count. But what we were measuring was things. One is the Vanderbilt measure of ADHD intent of attention, so we saw significant improvements in their inattention, so that they were actually less inattentive when they were doing homework based on these parent survey responses. We expect that when we increase the study size in the near future, that we'll actually get to a statistically significant value on that. We also measured, the homework problems checklist, which is a leading measurement of homework performance going back to, I believe, the late 80s, to measure how the students doing on their homework performance. One of the other things that we measured and are looking forward to continue measure is conflict. We had a lot of qualitative results that said I'm fighting less with my parents, which makes sense because we
Oh,
see
okay.
that we
Yeah.
have greater student independence, and parents hate hovering over their kid's shoulder when they're doing their homework, and kids hate having their parents in their hair as they're doing their homework. So we're excited to continue looking at that variable. Um,
That,
let's think.
I'm sure a lot of parents are excited about, as and students are excited about that
It it
outcome.
it really is. It leads to more confidence, right? Being able to actually sit there and complete your homework and not being able to is so frustrating.
Sure, absolutely. Anything else about the study you wanted to share? Or,
Uh, I think those are the top one. Almost
okay.
every student, every family reported, almost every
Yeah.
family reported academic improvements, and that's something that we're going to continue looking at.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, so, so it sounds like you're still pretty early with your product. Is it something everyone can get? Is it a limited release at this point? Can you share where that is, and if people are interested, where they can learn more?
Absolutely. So we have a wait list of over 100 right now. We partnered with a group called Jody Sleeper Trip uh, Coaching and Training, which is the one of the largest
Okay.
ADHD coaching training for ADHD coaches in the country. They train these ADHD coaches that really transform students' lives, and so we've released it through them for the first 100, but we are also making it available on our website at www.tryclarifi.com. And
Okay,
students
and
can
we'll put that
start.
in the show notes too, so that people can find that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So students and their families can start using it, and the families that we're really looking at are 7th through 12th grade. As I was saying, it's
Okay.
oftentimes when the wheels come off for students trying to do homework independently. So yeah, you can sign up and actually purchase the product through our website now.
Oh, great. Um, and where do you see this going? What's your vision for Clarify? A few years down the road, how would you know that you've been successful with it?
Definitely more stories like the one that we had. Uh, Girl went to a very elite private school here in Philadelphia, and we got reached out to because her school education specialist wanted to talk to us because she asked, "What's going on? What's different?" And they said, "There's fewer missing assignments." And then the mom said, "And there's less fighting at home." So I think in the short term, that's our goal, is just helping reach more families that are
Okay.
struggling with homework focus and independence. So giving students more focus and independence in terms of what we want to do. We do want to continue providing support through for students once they go to college, once they go to their job. So our vision is to follow our current batch of students through their life and to continue to provide them with support so that they can be successful and have the impact on the world that we know they can have. Greatest thing about students with ADHD is that they see the world differently, and you see so many
Sure.
founders with it, and so they just need often a little time, a, a little help focusing, finding a way to focus and achieve those different visions. So we want to follow them through their world. We also see a place expanding to help different students with other learning differences that struggle with other executive
Okay.
functioning challenges.
I think you're a perfect example of, you talked about how you got into college through, um, you know, following your passions more than your academics. And now you're building a company to help others. So, yes, absolutely supporting individuals with ADHD because they do see the world differently and can solve problems in ways that, a lot of more typical folks wouldn't even see as a something that needed to be solved. So that's a great vision. I love hearing that.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Sure. And so, is there any, certainly trying Clarify sounds like the right thing for, kids in that 7 through 12th grade age range or grade range. But is there any other recommendations you would give to parents who might be listening to this or educators in terms of ways they can help their children or students with attention challenges? Just one suggestion they might be able to implement.
It really depends on the age. I would think that parents, as they're sending their kids off to college, I have to just say there's been a lot of advancements in the disability and accessibility offices at universities. One of the leaders is University of Maryland. They've done a lot of pioneering research there. So if you're taking your kid to college, I would stop and check in at the disability and accessibility office at wherever you're dropping them off. If we're talking about a student that's younger, it's advocacy, and there's really nothing more important than teaching a student self-advocacy, so that if they need additional support or to get something done in a way that fits them, they need to be able to ask the teacher for that and let them know that no, we need to be it done this time.
Right.
I do need my 5 minutes outside the classroom right now so that I can be productive. And so being able to teach them advocacy is very important now and forever. And it's also something that they're doing for the next student, right? We are teaching everyone else how to deal with students like us. So you are helping other people by being advocates for your students.
Oh, that's great. Great advice. Bryan, this has been super informative. I really appreciate you being on, and wish you the best of luck with Clarifi and helping hundreds of thousands of students, get through their academics with less stress and less fighting with their parents.
Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate you having me.
Thanks for giving me your attention for another show. We hope you learned something that you can apply right away. If you enjoyed the show, please rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts so that other people can more easily find the podcast. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.